Youth say drug business is risky but pays off. Physicians concern over cervical cancer facilities. And deferral of PNG Games distract training.
This is National EMTV News with Mary Bartolo.
A very good evening. Thank you for joining us for Saturday's news. EMTV has gained rare access into the lives of small-time drug dealers in Port Moresby. A group of youth say they make hundreds of kina per week selling marijuana on the streets. If arrested, they face significant jail time, but they say selling drugs is how they survive. But the illegal trade is about to get more risky, with police training a new squad of sniffer dogs. Bethany Herman with this exclusive report.
We arrived at a disclosed location at around midday to meet the youths. They were initially reluctant to talk to us, but we promised to protect their identity. There are 3 levels of supply. We've come to film the bottom link in the chain of the Port Moresby drug trade.
Sometimes online highways sometimes I come straight to Balus. Island Staff Street and come down, Goroga Street. Maybe I make some fresh one and maybe I smoke past me, be normal to smoke. 5 kilo is la, so one ply member passing me, making 1 kilo, 1 ply, 2 kilo, 1 ply, taking.
They tell us about the amount of money they make. It's astonishing. In a week, they make more than what a Papua New Guinean makes on minimum wage. But marijuana is illegal.
1 week number was sales number, at least make 3, 4, what's that kind?
4,000.
300, 400 number, 1 week number. I'm 1 karmat number, Kano so 1 kano so number, 5 kina number. So some 5 kina, by me, kamet, Pegim 13, 14 kina at Lakain.
The minimum sentence for drug possession is 9 months. The maximum is 2 years. Our crew watches as several members of the group roll up a joint and smoke it on camera. But police are hoping this trade could come to an end soon, because the dealers will have new adversaries. At the Bomana Training College, police dogs are being trained to sniff out illegal drugs. The police dogs are being trained for the APEC Summit in 2018. Their training will end in the next several months. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News.
3 more family and sexual violence units have been established to address the increase in domestic-related violence in the country. Meanwhile, these units are seeing an increase in police officers volunteering to provide counseling for victims.
Port Moresby now have 7 police stations with FSV units. Their establishment came after the national government passed the law on family and sexual violence. Tackling FSV-related crimes remain a challenging issue for police. On average, police stations in Port Moresby receive between 10 to 25 FSV-related complaints in a day. Yesterday, 18 police officers were awarded certificates for completing training on how to immediately deal with victims of domestic violence. These officers have volunteered to work at FSV units in attempts to minimize domestic-related violence. The training was conducted through the PNG Australia Policing Partnership Program and shows the support of the Australian government in addressing FSV-related issues in the country. Tekla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Families of 42 police officers who were affected when the Gerehu to 9 Mile Road was constructed are now settling into their new homes. Their relocation was funded from monies collected from the sale of the old houses and from 14 million kina support from the National Capital District Commission. They were relocated to the old Tasion Barracks, from the old Tasion Barracks to the newly constructed duplexes. Once the families fully relocate, the construction of the Gerehu to 9 Mile Road will resume. Riwali people of inland Rigo will now access health services after 30 years of neglect by government authorities. Locals say past years, people walk for hours to Hula or Kwikila for medical assistance. Central Province Governor Kilahauda visited Riwali to open the sub-health center.
Riwali community boasts a population of over 3,000 people in the inland of Rigo district in Central Province. Services like health have been non-existent. Mary Kota, a local, said people have died from treated diseases.
Tapos ito sa dailo roto. Na mipla ol mama we mipla kat pikinini loya. Mipla nogatol klinik loya, mipla golo hula, mipla nogat marasin. Mipla mas comeback lo place again next day mipla sa baim tenki na mipla sa golo 6 Mile clinic.
Yesterday, Central Governor Kilahauda visited Riwali to officially open the sub-health center and a health officer's house. Funded by the central government, Governor Hauda said the current economic downturn in the country has some impacts on the progress of delivering services.
When the money permits, yes, we deliver. Education and health is a priority. It's a national priority, education and health.
This sub-health center houses an outpatient wing, observation room and drug storage unit. The 3-bedroom accommodation is also ready for use. What Councillor Minor Renagi says, this sub-health center is the first within the area.
People are privileged because we were the victims of the health almost 35 to 36 years. And now they are very pleased that the service has been rebuilt by the governor for the Central Province, Honorable Kilauda.
The Central Provincial Government is in the process of finalizing and allocating health workers to Riwali. Many say this small health facility will serve nearly 5,000 people in the Riwali area of Rigo district.
This service to our people and I now declare this building open.
Jekla Pave Jr., National EMTV News.
Central Province Governor Kilahauda says the scholarship scheme for central students will continue in 2017. Speaking in Rigo yesterday, Governor Hauda said the scheme has benefited many students within the province. He says the aim of the scholarship is to raise the level of education and eradicate the huge unemployment rate of Central Province.
And this year, last year, we selected 53 students to go to this same college. On Tuesday, we will send 20. In 2 weeks' time, we will send 33 to this same college. And this year again, we already advertised for students, 20 again, more towards the end of this year. We want to bring ourselves to international stage.
You're watching National EMTV News. We'll have more local stories after these messages. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Papua New Guinea is currently in the process of developing guidelines to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and other risks related to climate change. A 4-day workshop was held in Kavieng, New Island Province, as part of ongoing stakeholder consultation process by the Climate Change and Development Authority. CCDA Acting Managing Director Ruel Yamuna said cooperation between stakeholders is crucial for a development pathway which is also environmentally sustainable and beneficial for the people. CCDA is aiming to submit a National RED Plus strategy to the National Executive Council for endorsement this month. Over 60 participants attended the workshop. Now to a story about Lily, a mother and a housewife who supports her husband and her 3 children financially through her small business of duck sales in Leh. Lily said since there is competition in the poultry business, she decided to switch to ducks because of the high demand. She began with 3 ducks early last year. That number has since grown to 300. Julie Badui-Owa with this report.
Lily is a mother of 3, a housewife who does not wait for her husband's fortnight. She supports her family by taking care of ducks to sell to clients, especially of Asian origin who owns restaurants and kaibas in Leh. Lily resides in West Taraka in Leh, where there is a competition of chicken poultry. She has realized the demand of duck and began the business early last year.
All by 1 plal of 50 kina. So chicken mi plus salim 30 kina na duck 50 kina lo 1 plal. I mi looking mo se demand blame high to mas na o se help him Milo osem bampe school fee blol pikini blomi na ose living blom bla.
With an obvious passion of love taking care of animals, Lily not only looks after ducks, but also pigs. She and her husband also get an income from the pigs they sell. During the day, after feeding the animals, she makes use of the day by selling at the market, just to earn extra for the day.
Because me got legally called pig blomi too na all pusket na. Now me got plenty dagging so me sa stop tasol market pinis nika busy laos mister.
Lily says she has learned a lot from what she has been practicing to help sustain her family. She is not dependent on her husband and understands that they don't get into arguments over financial problems. She encourages other women to do the same in order to have a peaceful, happy and loving family.
MLP me na me looking mose me looking money me got kaikel house na daily living blomi ose MLP me so.
Julie Badui Owa, National EMTV News, Lay.
Rice company Trukai has long been a supporter of community initiatives. In an agreement with the Royal Papua New Guinea Constabulary, 8 reserved officers graduated yesterday. This comes at a time when the city's police are facing chronic shortages in resources and manpower.
These 8 police officers will soon work the streets of Leh. They are part of a partnership between rice company Trukai and the constabulary.
That is correct. Under the MOU, they will do 4 hours of their duties every week at the police stations. That is the requirement, so that they learn more about police practical duties. 4 hours every week in the police station to work with their colleagues. And as I've said, for the major events like elections and some other unrest or natural disaster or man-made disasters, the commissioner has the power to call them out to join the regular police for those duties. As soon as the duty is over, they are back to their normal back to the base.
Businesses are facing hard times, but Trukai's investment gives a boost of confidence. The company supports sports fundraisers such as the Trukai Fun Run for national and international sports events. It also encourages rice cooperatives to work side by side to grow and sell rice. Trukai's input will go a long way for a struggling police force.
The police department is only responsible for training and for discipline in the reserve unit. For the other components like salaries and allowances and logistics, it is the sole responsibility of the company.
Harry Agimbari, National EMTV News, Leh.
The team behind the highly successful 9 Mile Farm innovative agro-industry have set their sights on a new commercial dairy farm at the Ilmo area, just 20 minutes outside of Port Moresby. The farm has been under construction for several months and once completed will be the country's first large-scale commercial dairy farm.
The farm, though currently under construction, is expected to supply high-quality dairy products to Papua New Guinean consumers. Products such as milk, yogurt, ice cream, and other dairy snacks. This will ultimately curb dairy imports and create a sustainable dairy production industry in the country and eventually in the region. CEO Leo Cristal stated that the farm is a solution for the noticeable lack in the market, which forced the country to import dairy products from our neighbors Australia and New Zealand.
The idea behind the project is to create local production rather than imports, which are currently extremely expensive, not presented on the shelf on a consistent basis, and not affordable to the local population.
The first shipment of cows from New Zealand is expected to arrive in the country as early as the end of May, with the first produce to be available to consumers in time for the end of the year. Construction will run parallel to production.
Unlike in most projects where you usually do the whole construction and then you're bringing the cows, here we're trying to meet the demand as soon as possible. So the estimated time of a full construction of this project is intended to be 24 months until production. Here we're gonna start producing after 12 months from breaking ground. So the cows are arriving to PNG towards the end of May. And so the first product, you would be able to come and taste our first product somewhere around October, even before Christmas, we'll be already producing.
Leon Gerari, National EMTV News.
Nasfund Contributor Savings and Loan Society officially opened its first standalone branch to serve members in Leh. General Manager Vari Lahui says the new office will serve over 200 members daily with a growing membership of over 84,000. Leh and Port Moresby have the highest numbers in the country.
The new office features 3 client service counters and a waiting area. The branch also has separate counters for its biometric identification service, a touchscreen self-service for members. NCSL is also planning to have internet banking available at the new service chamber to assist members lodge their savings, withdrawal and loan applications online. The new development is part of the Society's 5-year strategic plan. Leh MP Luzia Koza, who opened the new office, has entered into an agreement with NCSL to also drive SME businesses in her electorate while creating a savings culture.
We must now focus our one-talk system and drive it towards connecting with sustainability. That's the language, saving culture.
Mata Luis, National EMTV News, Leh.
Next month, the cervical cancer immunization program will be rolled out under a pilot project in Port Moresby. While the government is looking at prevention, Dr. Edward Waramin from the Department of Health said those who want to get checkups for cervical cancer may not be able to do so. This is because there is a shortage of pap smear tests and pathologists.
1,500 women die from cervical cancer every year in PNG. The National Department of Health recommends girls and women have regular checkups or pap smears to identify the human papilloma virus which causes cervical cancer.
Hospitals are very busy. They're looking after sick women, they're looking after pregnant women. And so some of the programs that actually address women who are not sick are not there. So our hospital systems actually decided to cater for sick women only.
Dr. Edward Waraman is heading the HPV immunization project that will see 64 schools in NCD participate. Girls between the age of 9 to 14 will be given 2 doses of immunization 6 months apart. When asked how women can get regular pap smears, Dr. Waraman explained the tests were not usually provided in public hospitals around the country.
Provinces are doing slides and they're sending them all into Port Moresby to be read. And unfortunately, there aren't enough doctors because they are busy looking at other samples, if you have a growth in your mouth, they'll take a biopsy.
Dr. Waraman also said that due to small number of pathologists in the country, it takes up to 2 years for patients to get their test result.
Right, so a lot of women have had pap smears and they can wait for up to a year or 2 years before they have a result. Right? And that's not good.
While the services may be lacking in public hospitals, Dr. Waraman says pap smears are available in private hospitals. But that leaves the question of what happens to those who cannot afford private health care. Adelaide Sirox Kari, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. A humanitarian crisis unfolding in Africa, a frosty meeting between 2 world leaders, plus America's efforts to stop North Korea's nuclear program. Those stories and more after these messages. Welcome back to National EMTV News. Turning overseas now, and millions of people have starved to death in a famine that the United Nations is calling the worst in decades. In Somalia, severe drought has made conditions even more desperate. The UN is now asking for immediate financial assistance to help those who are suffering. This report tells of how health workers are trying to treat the sick, and many of them are children.
In a hospital in the Somali capital of Mogadishu, workers struggle to save people affected by famine.
In most cases, the death cause is the dehydration.
The head of pediatrics says they are rehydrating the baby, treating for diarrhea and cholera. But their best efforts are at times not enough. Some of the children come in already severely malnourished. And workers here say nearly 50 died from hunger-related ailments over the past 2 months. The land in much of this country is dry and barren. There was little rain here for about 2 years until 2016. And when the rains came, they did not last. Water sources have dried up in the countryside, animals are dying, and people are moving to the cities in search of food and water. The UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres was in the country earlier this month, appealing for more than $800 million to help about 6 million people who face the risk of starvation. He warned of a tragedy without that support. Somalia is just one of several countries that the UN says faces the world's worst humanitarian crisis since 1945. Others are Yemen, South Sudan and northeast Nigeria.
Now, more than 20 million people across 4 countries face starvation and famine. Without collective and coordinated global efforts, people will simply starve to death.
In Yemen, more than 7 million people are facing what the UN calls severe food insecurity. Not yet a famine, but getting there.
We don't have enough food to support the scale-up that is required to ensure that we can avoid a famine.
More than 2 million people face starvation in Nigeria, while more than 5 million are at risk in South Sudan, where the World Food Programme, the WFP, has been airdropping supplies. Armed conflicts in these countries are compounding the problem. In Yemen, the WFP is asking warring factions for road access to deliver aid to some of the hardest-hit areas. And in the affected areas in northeast Nigeria, Boko Haram remains a threat, even though the Nigerian government has had recent military success against them. In Somalia, as people forage the land for food and water, Al-Shabaab continues its deadly campaign against any attempt at asserting central rule from Mogadishu. Yet, aid workers, doctors and nurses are braving the storm to save some of the worst affected.
An awkward moment for US President Donald Trump and German Chancellor Angela Merkel. The US President joked that they were both under surveillance by the Obama administration. And there is still no evidence to support Mr. Trump's claim that he was indeed wiretapped. A classified report from the US Department of Justice does not confirm his allegation.
It was an opportunity for President Trump to withdraw a baseless accusation that former President Obama wiretapped him and apologize. But for a president who never admits mistakes, it was an opportunity missed.
Are there from time to time tweets that you regret in hindsight?
Very seldom.
Very seldom,
Very
and
seldom.
you would have, so you never would have
Very
wished
seldom.
not to have
Probably
tweeted
wouldn't be here
something.
right now, but so very seldom.
At a news conference with German Chancellor Angela Merkel, the president refused to back down, pointing to past reports that Merkel was once surveilled by the U.S. intelligence community during the Obama administration.
As far as wiretapping, I guess, by this past administration, at least we have something in common, perhaps.
The White House is digging in, even after Press Secretary Sean Spicer sparked a diplomatic uproar, defending the president's comments.
You also tend to overlook all of the other sources because I know you want to cherry pick it, but but you do. But where was your concern about the New York Times reporting?
To back up the president's wiretapping allegation, Spicer cited an unsubstantiated report from a Fox News commentator.
Last on Fox News on March 14th, Judge Andrew Napolitano made the following statement, quote, 3 intelligence sources have informed Fox News that President Obama went outside the chain of command. He didn't use the NSA, he didn't use the CIA, he didn't use the FBI, and he didn't use the Department of Justice. He used GCHQ. What is that? It's the initials for the British Intelligence Spying Agency.
The British government was outraged, utterly ridiculous, should be ignored, said the British Signals Intelligence Agency, GCHQ. The British Prime Minister's office added, we've made clear to the U.S. administration that these claims are ridiculous and should be ignored. We've received assurances that these allegations won't be repeated. But during the news conference, the president said no apology was necessary.
All we did was quote a certain very talented legal mind who was the one responsible for saying that on television. I didn't make an opinion on it. That was a statement made by a very talented lawyer on Fox. And so you shouldn't be talking to me, you should be talking to Fox.
After the press conference, Spicer told reporters he was just passing on news reports from various outlets. I don't think we regret anything, he said. For the president, the Merkel visit was a chance to mend some fences. In late 2015, he tweeted about Merkel, I told you Time magazine would never pick me as Person of the Year, despite being the big favorite. They picked person who is ruining Germany. Tensions Merkel appeared to acknowledge.
I've always said it's much, much better to talk to one another and not about one another, and I think our conversation proved this.
And as for a response to the president's latest remarks at the news conference, a spokesperson for the British government offered no comment.
America's top diplomat has landed in Beijing for a meeting with Chinese leaders. The U.S. is seeking Chinese support to rein North Korea's weapons program. His visit follows a stop in South Korea, where he said the U.S. will consider military action against Pyongyang if Kim Jong-un threatens his neighbors or U.S. forces there.
Kim Jong-un's nuclear ambitions are fueling fast and furious developments, putting South Korea under mounting pressure. The U.S. is racing to deploy THAAD, a missile defense system on South Korean soil, insisting it's purely about protection from North Korea. U.S. President Donald Trump and South Korea's acting president say it must be installed as quickly as possible. China demands they stop, and Korea is stuck in the middle.
I think when I see people discuss about the THAAD deployment issue, people also worry about the escalating tension in the Korean Peninsula and also in Asia.
South Korea is in the throes of a political crisis. Protesters demanded the impeachment of disgraced conservative President Park Geun-hye. Now, some want to push pause on THAAD. They want the next president to be elected in May to have the final say.
I lead Trump's autobiography, The Art of
the Deal.
Art of the Deal is very impressive.
But Song Yong-gil, who represents a presidential frontrunner for the Democratic Party, says,
we can't decide our destiny, our problem. United States and President Trump should respect the democratic government, new government.
He says Seoul is too close to North Korea that THAAD can't protect it. The system is designed to intercept short and medium-range missiles, but the reach of its radar raises concern for countries in the region. Russia and China say the U.S. could use it to monitor their own missile launches. Now China appears to be pushing back. China says they haven't taken any official action against Korea, but South Korea says there are signs of retaliation for the installation that are hitting the country in the pocket, like cancellations of Chinese tours, leaving local businesses to feel the effect. The popular shops are a little emptier in this tourist neighborhood, she tells us. Shop owners are out in the streets trying to attract customers. Older Conservative Party voters, proud proponents of the U.S. alliance, support THAAD. Liberals pushing for more open dialogue with North Korea fear it could keep everyone away from the negotiating table. Six-party talks, which involved Russia and China, broke down in 2009.
North Korea has developed their nuclear power during the period when Six Party is not working properly. And we actually gave them an opportunity, while we're not actually talking to them, they used that moment to develop their nuclear weapons.
Kim Jong-un is once again upping threats, promising this year to test an intercontinental ballistic missile capable of carrying a nuclear warhead to the U.S.
Trukai Sports is next. We'll have all the details after these messages.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. Team NCD's manager says the deferral of the PNG Games has caused his athletes to lose interest in training. Killer Dick says getting his team back into training will be a difficult task.
Youths in the country have shown great interest in sporting activities since the 2015 Pacific Games. Sports has become part of their everyday lives. But as PNG continues to embrace sports in one way or another, the deferral of the PNG Games has caused many athletes to stop training. NCD team manager Killer Dick says getting them back into training will be a difficult process.
There are two sides of the coin. One is, yes, it's going to give us a lot of time in terms of logistics and resources like finance, organizing our uniforms, organizing transport arrangement, payment of airfares and stuff like that. That's one part of the coin. The other part of the coin is how to stimulate our players in preparations for the games, because now the games have been deferred, the interest has gone down a little bit. So how do we stimulate them to come back into the process of training?
He is not the only one with this concern, as other sporting individuals have also been vocal about the deferral of the games. Killer Dick said while PNG Game is an expensive exercise, the PNG Games Council will have to implement proper procedures in place in the future.
In 2014, a lot of unprofessional approaches were done, and in many instances there were sports that went over or beyond the required entries and stuff like that, and that has to be corrected by the organizing committee and the PNG Games Council. The eligibility of competitors who compete, some athletes were from NCD, they were taking part for the team in Central Province or Gulf Province, or even some were taking part in other provinces. So all these things need to be monitored and corrected, and in preparations for the games.
The PNG Games is due to take place in November. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
The Filipino Association of PNG today hosted the opening of its basketball competition for 2017. Its members came in numbers to witness the matches. Tournament President Kathy Madrid said the event is also to bring families and friends together.
Gathering in their numbers at the Filipino Association Hall, teams came in their group colors to spice up the competition. The 36 participating teams filled the hall as they made their entrance onto the stage. President Kathy Madrid said the opening of the 2017 tournament had the privilege of a PNG mixed team and a Chinese team taking part.
Actually, this is really a special event for Filipino Association of Papua New Guinea. It is actually the basketball tournament for 2017 grand opening. It's been, was just endorsed to us by a particular association, basketball association, which is FILBA. So it will be again the first time of FAPNG to host this tournament. And right now, I'm very proud to say that we have 36 teams participating, and we have 2 guest teams, which is the China PNG and even the PNG mixed team.
She said with the interest increasing every year, team numbers are also expected to increase.
I'm very pleased to really see the families, especially Filipino families, coming together. There's like a particular family bonding as well. Not only playing sports, but they're all together to support actually either their dad, their brothers, or even their relatives. Yeah, while playing basketball, they're all here to support them.
The Filipino Association of PNG will also open their 2017 season for volleyball at 10 a.m. tomorrow. Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
PNG High Performance carried out their community coaching clinic this week for athletes and coaches. Senior coach Hannah Elave said engaging sporting bodies in the clinic will help upskill and increase athletes' level of performances.
Running the strength and conditioning community coach course at the moment for OSEP. It's basically physical preparation for the athlete. So we're trying to upskill community coaches to be able to do strength and conditioning at that level. So the topics that we cover include long-term athlete development, functional movement screening, anatomical adaptations, speed training, some integrated conditioning, the demands of the sport, and then lastly we're going to cover some periodization planning and fitness testing as well. Well, after they finish the course, they'll be accredited as community strength and conditioning coaches, and we're hoping to have them on for 6 to 12 months so they can get the practical experience of being strength and conditioning coaches.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. To international cricket, it's been tough going for the Aussies on day 3 of the 3rd test against India. The hosts have fought back and are just 3 wickets down in their first innings, but comeback kid Pat Cummins is being a shining light in Australia's attack.
The hosts have fought back and are just 3 wickets down in their first innings. But comeback kid Pat Cummins has been a shining light in Australia's attack.
Day 2 had oozed feel-good for an Aussie pair.
The finger goes up. Really fast, penetrative bowling.
Pat Cummins hadn't played Test cricket for almost 6 years. Glenn Maxwell had also chased redemption.
So much emotion just fell out of me as soon as I got that 100. Yeah, it's just as special a moment I've had in my career, and hopefully it's not the last.
The opening to Day 3 was deceptive.
Oh, great shot this. Murli Vijay in full flow.
The skipper was impressed, but Vijay's 6 was like a beacon. He and Pujara only rarely broke the shackles.
That's nicely played, very nicely played.
Just as Indian fans prepared for a stress-free lunch, O'Keefe struck.
Oh, that's gone. Loss in concentration. What a shot to play.
Hard to fathom, Vijay on 82 throwing it away 3 balls before the break. It exposed his out-of-form skipper, and Cummins jumped at the chance.
And straight to the fielder. That's Virat Kohli.
To tennis, Nick Kyrgios has apologised to tennis fans after pulling out of his quarter-final clash with Roger Federer because of sickness. The Australian withdrew before the match and took to Twitter to explain why. Kyrgios said after a restless night of being sick, he had nothing left, and to play a great champion like Roger, he needed to be at his best.
Federer will now play Jack Sock in the semis after the American upstaged world number 5, Kei Nishikori. Federer made a brief appearance on court, but only to release his latest music clip with fellow tennis stars Grigor Dimitrov and Tommy Haas.
Very embarrassing. It's so bad, but yet it's so good.
I just want you to know. Hold me now. I really want to tell you I'm sorry.
It's the second time the trio have teamed up after unveiling their debut song during the Australian Open. She Will Rain was the Omen tip on a wet day in Sydney, and the star filly produced a brilliant display to win the $3.5 million Golden Slipper.
The $20,000 filly's got the slipper won.
I struggled to get through year 10. I was a battler and working a night shift at a bakery, and it just goes to show to anyone out there that's not sure what they're doing in life, mate. If you'd like something, you want to do something, just stick at it and work hard.
And as you may have seen earlier, the world's best horse, Winx, made it 16 wins in a row with an effortless victory in the Group 1 George Ryder Stakes. Mick Fanning's return to full-time competition is off to a rough start, with the 3-time world champion eliminated by Owen Wright at the Quicksilver Pro. Fanning was disappointed, but there was no animosity, with Wright returning from a serious head injury.
When the heat was over, man, we're best mates, and we went through a good year off together, and couldn't have had a heat with a better bloke.
Fellow Aussies Connor O'Leary, Matt Wilkinson and Joel Parkinson are also through to the quarterfinals.
And that's all we have for Trukai Sports. Up next, the weather report.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Here's a look at the weather for the next 24 hours. We begin in the southern region. Port Moresby, fine and sunny, and then becoming cloudy later with a top temperature of 31 degrees. Mostly fine for Daru, Alotau and Popondetta with a top temperature of 31 degrees as well, and 31 and fine for Kerma. To the Mamasa region, fine although cloudy for Lae as well as Vanimo. Some showers in Wau with a top temperature of 31 degrees. Brief showers in Madang and showers developing in Wewak. To the New Guinea Islands region, rain and storms for Lorengau. A shower or two for Kavieng, mostly fine in Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and fine in Buka. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg. All these major centers will expect fine weather, but you can also expect some showers over the next 24 hours. To the forecast for small ships, waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait and Daru to Kiwai Island to Kerama, Yule Island, Hood Point to Samarai, Eastern and Western Milne Bay Islands, New Britain to New Ireland and Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1 meter. Waters of Samurai Island to Cape Vogel, Finschhafen, through Vitia Strait, CSE Island to Long Island, Medang, Bogia, Wewak, Aitape, Vanimo, and the northern Indonesian border, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. And a look at the ocean forecast for PNG areas. Coral Sea, seas slight with northern winds at 10 to 15 knots. Solomon Sea, seas slight with northwest to westerly winds at 10 to 15 knots. Bismarck Sea, seas slight with southeast to southeasterly winds at 10 to 15 knots. And the Pacific Ocean, seas slight with northeasterly winds at 10 to 15 knots.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield, with doing with Dulux.
Before we go, a new treatment for a common and painful form of arthritis is now being used in the United States, and it's proving to be a life changer. It's a synthetic cartilage implant that acts as a cushion for the joint, and it is showing remarkable results.
Every step is a victory for Nichelle Perry. Just last year, her arthritis was so bad she could barely put on shoes, let alone walk.
I had a black pair and a brown pair. That's what I was just relegated to, just something that didn't touch the side of my foot.
Doctors said she could fuse the bones in her big toe, but that would limit mobility. So instead, tried a first-of-its-kind implant. Synthetic cartilage made with the same material as a contact lens that acts as a cushion for the joint.
For patients who have arthritis, this is a game changer.
Arthritis affects 54 million Americans, mostly women, and that number is growing every year. In many cases, doctors treat symptoms with painkillers.
It's a synthetic graft. It's really
but this implant is now giving millions hope. So far, it's only used in the big toe in the U.S., but European doctors are already using it in knees and thumbs.
So it's great for people who want to maintain motion. This is a revolutionary type of product that potentially is a lifelong solution to allow patients to maintain motion and decrease the pain that they're suffering from.
Data released today shows pain reduction in 91% of patients and more than 100% improvement in their ability to play sports and activities. 6 months after surgery, Nichelle is back in the gym and in shoes that make her smile.
I was able to wear them, no problem. They're so cute.
A new treatment that could be a big step for all arthritis sufferers.
And to end the news, a recap of our main stories tonight. EMTV talks to small-time drug dealers earning a living, cancer awareness facing shortage of pap smear tests and pathologists, and NCSL opens new branch in Lae. And that's how we end National EMTV News today, Saturday the 18th of March 2017. From the news team, pleasant viewing. Good night.